Hey guys, Ford here, and in today's video we're going to talk about a mystery gamer who shocked the government. The background gameplay is from Ghost of Tsushima. So a gamer who has yet to be identified was getting frustrated with how the media was covering White House press conferences and thought that they weren't asking the right questions. The reason that the government thinks that this is a gamer is because the name that they used was Casey Lego Montague, and in the game Roblox, which I personally have never played, supposedly users jokingly call each other Legos. There are usually a lot more people allowed into White House press conferences than there are right now. This is because of the requirements that they have for social distancing because of COVID. Usually about 49 people are allowed in the room, and right now it's down to 14. So, as a favor to other reporters who have been allowed in have been asking questions on behalf of other news organizations that weren't able to be there. One organization that was unable to be there but has been having questions asked for them is White House News. The thing is, there is no news organization named White House News. All that White House News is 2 Twitter profiles, a LinkedIn profile, a Google Plus account, and an email address. The profiles were for Casey Montague, and they said that she was the chief correspondent of White House News. The dates and numbers are a little shaky, and no one's really sure exactly what they are since the account is anonymous, but supposedly she's been asking for questions to be asked since at least December, and since then has had at least 4 questions asked at the press conferences. The reason that she got caught is she got 2 of her questions asked at the last press conference, and they looked into the origins of the questions, and when they actually did some decent research, because for whatever reason they didn't originally, they came to realize that they were asking questions for a person who doesn't exist, and a news organization that is completely fake. The 2 questions that were asked were, is Joe Biden going to bring back presidential portraits, and how often did Joe Biden and Barack Obama talk? The answers were maybe, and yes, they are friends, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how often they talk. Montague did an interview with Politico, and she said that one of the reasons that she was posing questions to interviewers was a lack of transparency in the Biden administration. At first, this didn't make a ton of sense to me because she had been doing this since December at least, and that would have been when Trump was still president. One article that I read had the idea that Montague started doing this just to impress her friends on Roblox. If that is true, then she could have started out doing that and then continued to do it because of her frustration with the new Biden administration, since she had began doing it under the previous one. The answers to the questions that she asked that day really go to show just how transparent the White House is right now. In the interview with Politico, Montague said, quote, "I love journalism, and I think the press corps is doing a pretty bad job at the moment, so I decided I would ensure some transparency and ask some questions me and some friends wanted the answer to," end quote. She said that she was an 18-year-old law student living in the UK who had been born in the US but moved to the United Kingdom when she was 6. Not a lot of people believe her, and they think that she is just making that up so that it's harder to find her. She said that she was not motivated to do this by politics, but was socially liberal and economically conservative. I think that that also describes me pretty well. One thing that I'm really surprised about is how long she was able to get away with this, especially when you consider that her LinkedIn profile picture was of the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, and one of her Twitter profiles was Prince Philip. It didn't say what the second Twitter account's profile picture was, but what that does mean is that other news organizations who were going to ask these questions, and the White House itself, didn't look into White House news whatsoever. On paper, This seems so simple, and what I'm about to say is probably pretty arrogant, but if I had the email addresses of the people that I would need to email, I think this wouldn't be that hard to do. I know nothing about remaining anonymous on the internet, so I would probably be caught pretty quickly, or once at least they figured out who I was, which would be probably like, 5 months, maybe? But I know how to write an email asking questions, and I know how to set up a Google account and a Twitter account. I don't have Twitter anymore, but I did have an account at one point. Montague asked other questions as well, including questions about the COVID travel bans, Biden's reaction to Microsoft being hacked, as well as ambassadorships. These questions seem a little more standard to me, so that's probably why they didn't get looked into. Not that I'm justifying that, because that's absolutely ridiculous that they didn't look into this. I mean, it's hilarious from my point of view, but it also could have gone really poorly if that's how easy it is to infiltrate the media and the government, so to speak. To be fair, it should be a common question how often Biden and Obama talk, but I would probably also raise an eyebrow at are they going to bring back presidential portraits. While that's an interesting question, and frankly I didn't even know that they had gotten rid of them, during those press conferences, which you don't have a ton of time, questions about the COVID travel plan and other things would make more sense and should be prioritized. Montague would email people who had just been assigned their roles and congratulate them on getting the job. She would also say how cool it must be to be a reporter in the White House. It honestly does sound pretty cool to be a reporter in the White House. I would love to be able to ask questions at the press conferences. Montague said that if it went on much further, she would have applied for a day pass and could have gone into the White House herself. If I hadn't heard this story, I would find that hard to believe, but now I think that if they hadn't found her, that actually could have been possible. If they don't look into the White House news, which again has a LinkedIn profile of Boris Johnson and a Twitter profile of Prince Philip, may he rest in peace, they would probably give anyone a day pass, as long as they said they were affiliated with White House news. The press and the White House are probably going to be a lot more careful about this in the future, but Montague did do something important here. She showed that the people want more transparency within the White House. Whether that was her original intent or not, that's what it has become. She said that during her interview with Politico. That's gonna be it for today's video. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content. The link to the sources that I used when making this video will be in the description below, as well as a link to my Twitch channel where I record this gameplay live. Today's gameplay was from the game Ghost of Tsushima. Have an excellent rest of your day.